Hello comrades, welcome back to Kerbal Space Program with me, your host, yes, Commie Fritz the Great. I'm back for episode 4, and you join me in the tracking station view, something that we haven't actually seen before. This is where you basically start and launch your flights, and you can jump in and save and sort of get back into where you left off just by coming into here and then clicking on your relevant spacecraft to continue with your mission. Now, in light of the previous episode, I'd like to sort of explore further into the Kerbal system, which is a series of 2 planets, the moon, in the Kerbal in the middle, the moon, and then the outermost planet, Minmus. And Minmus is quite a tricky bugger to land on, because as you've just seen, it has quite an irritating inclination, and there goes my headphone. Anyway, yes, the USB port sort of just dropped off my desk. Nonetheless, yeah, so you can see there it's kind of, I think it's at 180 degrees relative to something. It's all very confusing, it's in 3 dimensions, which doesn't make it any easier. But yeah, you can see that it's 2/3 of the way further out from Kerbal than the moon. And I've already got a spacecraft on the launch pad, named rather unfortunately in light of recent events in Russia, and if we just jump in and wait for it to load, I guess we can start straight away. I've been quite lucky so far in the fact that I haven't had any severe game crashes or lags. And here it is. It's quite a simple design, although you'll notice that the lander is on top. It's underneath the command pod. That's because I'm trying to do this in a kind of Apollo style. So I launch into Minmus orbit, dock with the lander, turn around, and then transfer my crew, and then detach and land on Minmus, and then rendezvous in Minmus orbit afterwards. It's quite a challenging way of doing things, but you know, I'm sure it won't pose too many challenges like the previous moon mission, in which I completely stuffed up the inclinations and everything like that, so that wasn't too good. If we throttle up and prepare to let slip the hellhounds of death. And ooh, it's wobbling quite a lot. I better sort of. And there we go. Okay, I'm just going to ignite the engine and go. Wow, that's quite unsteady. I got a feeling I should have put more struts on it. Yes, that's going to. Russian technology never breaks, so this will work, or hell will freeze over. Oh, for God's sake, turn, you 3-breasted wench! Get back on the 90, right on the 90. That's not working, is it? Oh, bloody Norik. Oh, no, it's all gone horribly wrong. Lubal, Bob, and Thom and Kerman are crapping their pants, but it's alright because I have a parachute system that will save them. So if I just cut the engines and then jettison these 4 rockets, I should be able to save them. Like so. And, oh god. Okay, you can see that I didn't quite fit. Oh, there goes the rest of the command module along with the lander. What I was saying about Russian technology? Yeah, hell just froze over, chaps. Okay, I'm gonna just detach the lander and then bring the command module free so that I can sort things out. So there was a decoupler left on the, and I lost an engine on the lander, as you can see, it's sort of floating above it. And if I just turn around, get rid of that, we don't want that. That will cause a problem if we hit the water with that, because we'll hit the water slightly faster than we want to and break something. Probably bones. Wow, that was a bit too close for comfort. Didn't want that to happen. Yes, what I've got to work on stopping those parachutes from meshing together, which isn't that good, so if I just revert the flight. Actually, I don't want to do that. I'm going to go to Space Center, leave. Yep, I want to leave. There we go. Go back into the vehicle assembly building, and we'll go straight back to the drawing board for that one. If I just load up the Putin 4, so we can make some slight adjustments. And if I just sort of zoom up through the rocket, and then I'm going to have to add some struts onto those 4 outer fuel tanks, and then thread the struts up towards that command module section, just for extra rigidity. So if I can ditch those nose cones, they're actually only there for show, they don't actually do anything. I learned that quite recently. But yeah, if we add the adapter, 4 adapters, which means that we can then sort of put struts on top of them to keep it all together. I can get rid of those because they're going to impede the struts, and then sort of add struts where I can. So I'm going to slip into a fast forward sequence now, just so I don't sort of keep the video going on for ages and ages and ages. So that's it from me, and I will see you on the other side. Okay, I'm back, and you can see that I finished adding the struts, and I don't know if you saw, but I sorted out the staging, which was completely wrong, which is one of the reasons why the rockets didn't all detach at the same time. So I'm just going to go ahead and launch, and hope for the best, really. This is taking quite a while to load. I did add quite a few parts, and this might cause a bit of lag. So, and if so, I'm going to have to. Yeah, that's quite a lot more laggy than it used to be. So, just to be safe, I'm going to switch over to a post commentary, and then I'll join you in orbit sometime. I'll cut out quite a lot of the boring bits of the launch. So yeah, I'll see you in space. And due to the power of computer editing and some dramatic music, we are now, as you can see very clearly, in space. as you probably saw, the launch went pretty well, apart from that small explosion when I separated the final 2 boosters on the central stack. Yeah, that almost broke the rocket, but luckily nothing of the sort happened, and we are now in orbit. What I'd like to do is now dock with the lander, spin the command module around, and dock, and then sort of plan my maneuver, my Hoffman transfer, out towards the orbit of Minmus, if that makes sense. So, if I just check out my orbit here, I'm in an 87 by 166 kilometer orbit, which isn't that eccentric. But I'm just going to go ahead and open up the docking port so that I can actually connect with the spacecraft. Make sure the SAS is on, yep, and decouple from the rest of the spaceship. Make sure everything's steady. There we are. This requires quite a bit of precision, I have to say. So I've got to set the lander as my target, and then I don't think I actually control from the docking port, which is what you're supposed to do, so that you can get an accurate reference. Then using the translation keys, slowly inch forwards, and then in the very Apollo-esque manner, spin around and come back exactly the way you came. So if I just turn on that axis, perfect. You can see my retrograde marker is lined up perfectly with the way I'm pointing, which is what we need. So if I just cycle through the SAS, sort things out, and keep everything nice and level. I'm going to once again push the H key to slowly maneuver forwards, and you can see the lander approaching through the command module window there. And we are 4 meters away exactly. It's time to start aligning ourselves a little bit. We've dropped off alignment, puff of the RCS, and move in for our final approach. And there we are. We are docked. We just have to wait for everything to stop moving around before the computer actually recognizes us as one. There we are, one complete spacecraft, and you can see that the no target function came up to show that we've docked. Perfect. That went a lot better than I expected it to. But there we are. And we can get rid of that engine shroud because we don't need that. What I should have done is probably left it a bit later, but that docky a bit later, but or another way of doing this was to spin the craft around and then use the command module as a sort of tugboat to push the rest of the spaceship around towards Minmus, and then transfer the fuel deficit over afterwards. But oh well, it won't make too much of a difference. If anything, the main cell we have on that long stack is more efficient than that single engine that we have on the command module, so I guess it balances out. Okay, I'm just beginning to plan my maneuver node out towards Minmus. We have to do it in a similar fashion to the way we went to the moon, so guess the point at which Minmus would rise over Kerbin's horizon, and then plan our burn from there. So I've just set Minmus as our target, and then I'm going to look at where the relative positions of the spaceship and Minmus are at a given moment, and then I can adjust. There we are. You can see that those 2 white markers lined up, and I was close enough to be captured into Minmus's sphere of influence, and then get pulled around. That was pretty much textbook, actually. There was nothing complicated or fancy that I needed to do. And I'm going to have to control from here so that I can align myself properly with the maneuver node reticule. on my navigational ball. We're quite a long time. We have quite a bit of time before our burn, so if I just set everything up in advance, so I won't have to do everything right at the last minute. And it's quite a difficult craft to control because it's so long and not very structurally rigid, because I'm only connected via docking ports, which aren't too durable. But I guess we can manage, and our Delta V computer next to the nav ball tells us that we're going to need 73.6 meters per second of acceleration in order to sort of encounter Minmus, which is what we want, but I think it could be a bit more than that, although I wouldn't be surprised because this mainsail engine is quite powerful. Everything seems good. I just need to find my target reticule, sorry, not the target reticule, the maneuver node triangle, which I think, yeah, it's right underneath the pink circular thing that we were lining up to do our docking. And if I just hit the SAS there, and it will cancel out any excess movement like it's doing now, although I've got a feeling it's going to do the same on exactly the opposite axis. I'm going to, and it's fighting it, and I'll just take control and slowly inch it over to the correct orientation. I really ought to put RCS. I really ought to have put RCS on the end of that near the mainsail engine, which probably would have made things a bit easier. But technicalities, it's a design flaw that we need to overcome next time, I guess. You can see that we will actually slingshot out past the orbit of Minmus, and then we'll be on our way back again when Minmus actually rushes up to meet us, so it probably wasn't the most efficient way of transferring, although of all the other ways we could have done it, it's probably the best. And I tried to aim for a point where the orbit of Minmus coincided with the sort of the coplanar orbit of the moon, so that I didn't have to change my inclination or waste fuel doing anything like that. Which it made for a slightly inaccurate judgment of where Minmus would have been, but we still got there, so I guess that's all that really matters. And as we start our burn, you can see that it's quite a lot more than that. It's over 600 meters per second. And I don't know if I can finish the burn without having to use the lander's engines to just fine-tune my boost, but hopefully we will have enough fuel. It's a slightly odd sensation having to control the spaceship facing the wrong way, essentially, but it's a manageable way of coping with all of the sway that the rockets and I'm just rambling, so I better stop doing that. I'm sort of just saying things that come out of my head. That's what commentary is, after all, sort of talking while you're doing things. But it's a fine line between rambling like an idiot and then sort of actually talking informatively. But nonetheless, I do feel that I've got better from previous videos, but now's not the time to talk about that. We need to continue with the mission, and we shall not let anything else get in the way of our endeavour. I'm going to time warp around out to Minmus, to where we're going to do our encounter, and you can see that we're actually going to sweep all the way out and then come back in, and I've just lost my encounter for some reason. I'm not quite sure why that is. So you can see that now we're actually going to hit the moon if we don't do anything soon. So I'm not quite sure why I've lost my encounter. Has Minmus moved? I don't know. I'm not sure what that delta V timer means at the moment. No, that's not going to work, is it? Okay, I'm going to time warp around here and then do another maneuver to see if I can cancel out what I've done. Whatever I have done. No, and I can't do that either because I've immediately been transferred into a completely different orbit for some reason. There was Minmus in the corner, by the way, but I'm not close enough to be attracted into its gravity well. Right, let's see if I can sort this out. If I swing my arc out the opposite way, no, that's not how physics works, is it? Bollocks. And no amount of fiddling is going to allow me to get captured into the gravity, so I'm just going to reload the quicksaver and try to work out what happened. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I had the maneuver all the way until right about when I stopped time warping. So I can't do this mission in real time, obviously, so I don't really know what happened. Bill, Jebediah and Jonvis are sort of as confused as me, I think. If I try and time warp out again, and then slowly. Now that we've passed a certain altitude, we can continue to time warp. And there it goes again. Yeah. That moon escape trajectory looks very odd. Is this a glitch? I'm not quite sure. By the way, if you have any solutions to this problem, please do feel free to comment at the bottom. And I don't need that recording window, that's fine. I noticed that as the rocket was moving, the encounter was changing just then, so if I just let the spaceship drift out, I've turned off the SAS to stop the torque from creating any sort of movement. Hopefully that will sort the problem out. So for the third time we're going to time warp all the way out. Hopefully this works, fingers crossed. And if it doesn't work, then I don't know what will, really. And yeah, there goes. Right. That's really annoying, actually, because I spent all that time building the rocket, and something's gone wrong. That's... Minmus should be approaching from the right-hand side of your screen. unless it has already gone past. You can see that it orbits quite quickly, much faster relative to the moon. So we can just swing back in and see if Minmus pulls us in, even though the computer says we don't have an encounter. We set it as our target. We still don't have a maneuver. Encounter, rather. I'm just going to slowly warp around until I get close enough. And yes, I have an encounter. So maybe that was the answer. The talk from the SAS was jiggling our rocket slightly, so it was confusing the computer a little. Awesome. We can now go ahead, spin the rocket around, and perform our retrograde burn, so that Minmus can pull us all the way around and into its sphere of influence. And there it is, the Ice Queen herself, basked in the golden sunlight. This is what our 3 Kerbals have been seeking for the last 3 days. And it's only then that you notice how far out Minmus actually is, which is... the moon is only about a day's ride away, so... in comparison, it's not really a very big step, or giant leap, if you know where I'm heading, but... what we're doing now is just bringing up the engine to half throttle, and you can see that our orbit, once we achieve Minmus escape, is changing, and there we are. Minmus has pulled us straight in. Okay, I'm just going to check how much fuel I have in that tank. It's still a fair amount, but we can't really do anything useful with it, which is really the important thing. So I may have to get rid of it. In fact, that's what I'm going to do. If I decouple that, and we can say goodbye to that stage. It's done us proud. Just watch it sails away into interstellar space. We back away with the RCS thrusters. I'm going to deploy the landing legs on the lander. And then, after we've pushed ourselves clear, we can then make the necessary adjustments for our landing. But I think this episode has gone on for quite a while, so despite the fast forward sequences, so I'm going to end it here. But yes, thank you very much for joining me on my Minmus mission, and I very much hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you very soon.